High school was a different beast altogether. Middle school had been fun, sure, but high school? That was the big leagues. And by the time I hit 10th grade, I was ready. Not just mentally, but physically. I had a driver's license, and that opened up a whole new world of hustling. And let me tell you, my car was dope. It was a Mazda 626, and over the years, it became my pride and joy. When I first got it, I decked it out with 2 6x9 speakers in a box in the back window, and it bumped hard. I was constantly blasting popular songs at the time, especially rap and hip-hop, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Tupac. If it had bass, you could bet it was coming out of my car. But that was just the beginning. Over the course of high school, I kept upgrading that ride. The 6x9s eventually turned into 10-inch subwoofers, and by the time I was a senior, I had the 1992 model Mazda 626 with a CD player that displayed dolphins on the screen. Yeah, dolphins. It was the epitome of early 2000s cool. I added a 1200-watt amp and even a capacitor to handle the power. By graduation, my car was a full-on party on wheels. You could hear me coming from a mile away. Let's face it, when you're in high school, nothing says freedom like being able to drive. No more waiting for the bus, no more relying on mom and dad. So naturally, I did what any enterprising 10th grader would do. I turned my car into a business. Need a ride to school? Done. Need to get home after practice? No problem. And unlike your parents, I didn't make you listen to AM talk radio on the way there. All I asked in return was a little cash. After all, gas wasn't cheap, and my time was valuable. But the ride service was just the start. High school was a whirlwind of dances, sporting events, group dates, and orchestra? Yep, you read that right. I didn't just hustle on the streets, I was also first chair violist in the orchestra. And let me tell you, being in the orchestra in middle school wasn't exactly the ticket to cool town. In fact, I got made fun of a lot. Kids would laugh at the idea of me sitting there with my viola like I was some kind of music nerd, but by the time I hit high school, well, that all changed. See, at Cottonwood High School, there were only like 3 guys in the entire orchestra, and the rest, all girls. Suddenly, that viola didn't seem so lame anymore. In fact, it became my golden ticket to a whole new kind of fun. Between orchestra practice, symphony performances, and the school plays we provided music for, I was spending a lot of time around these girls and having a blast while doing it. Now, the real reason I went to Cottonwood wasn't just for the girls, though that was a nice bonus. I was there because I excelled in the music program. Our orchestra was state champions 3 years in a row, and even took national champions 2 years. We had concerts once a month, and we performed for every major school play. There was always something happening in the music world, and I loved every minute of it. Sure, people might have poked fun at me in middle school, but by high school, I was on top, both in business and music. One story that really stands out was when we went to nationals. We got to take a trip to Universal Studios. Now, I don't want to brag. Okay, maybe I do. But I had been told more than a few times that I looked just like Justin Timberlake. Not only that, but I've got the kind of voice that can make you do a double take. So here I am, walking around Universal Studios with my orchestra buddies, when people start pointing and whispering. It didn't take long before some of the visitors there thought I was actually Justin Timberlake. I may or may not have played into it a little. Let's just say it was a fun day for me and my friends, but You know what they say. What happens on orchestra national trips stays on orchestra national trips. But high school wasn't just about events and music. See, I had been into magic, the gathering, since middle school, and it wasn't just a casual hobby for me. I was a phenomenon at it. I used to play against my junior high principal, who, by the way, was a doctor, and his brothers, who were all attorneys and doctors themselves. These weren't just kids in the neighborhood. I was playing against some serious competition, and I won. A lot. But back then, I didn't see magic as a money-making opportunity. To me, it was just about being the best at the game and beating people who were twice my age. That all changed in high school, though. I started realizing there was money to be made in buying, selling, and trading magic cards. Before long, I was flipping rare cards for profit, running trades between classes, and turning my locker into a mini Magic the Gathering marketplace. And I didn't stop there. I started hosting magic tournaments, not just at school either. I ran them at Utah Comics, this awesome comics store on 5400 South and 1300 West. I'd gather players from all over to compete in my tournaments, building a community of magic players while turning a tidy profit. I was organizing, managing, and even playing in these tournaments, and it was some of the most fun I had in high school. The tournaments were competitive, but for me, it was always about building something, an environment where people could connect over a shared love for the game. The cool part, that same principal from junior high followed me to high school. We had such a good time playing Magic and connecting over the years that he stuck around and continued being my principal. We became close friends, so close that even now, all these years later, we still keep in touch. He's one of those rare people who saw the potential in me from a young age and encouraged it. While magic cards and events kept me busy, I'll admit, I did dabble in a little illegal alcohol scheme. Let's just say there were a few parties that wouldn't have been quite as fun without my assistance. It wasn't something I made a habit of, but when the demand was there, I was ready to meet it. It's funny to look back on it all now, because at the time, it just felt like hustling, finding ways to make a little money while keeping myself entertained. But really, I was laying the groundwork for everything I do later in life. Every ride I gave, every magic card I sold, every event I planned, it all taught me something about business, about people, and about how to turn ideas into reality. By the time I graduated, I had a list of hustles longer than most adults. But beyond the money, I had learned something crucial. Entrepreneurship is about more than just finding a way to make a buck. It's about seeing the world a little differently. It's about recognizing that people always need something. And if you can figure out what that is and provide it, you'll always have a market. And while my friends were just trying to get through high school, I was busy building connections. I learned early on that success isn't about doing everything yourself. It's about surrounding yourself with the right people. Whether it was my friends helping with rides, kids trading magic cards, or classmates spreading the word about my event planning services, I had a network, and I knew how to leverage it. As I walked across the stage to get my diploma, I couldn't help but smile. High school wasn't just a stepping stone to adulthood. It was my training ground. I had learned how to hustle, how to pivot, and how to see opportunities where others didn't. And I was ready to take those lessons into the next chapter of my life.